In a first double-header for the World Triathlon podcast, we head to Australia to catch up with two-time world champion turned commentator turned author turned coach Emma Carney and her latest protege Emma Hogan, a 20-year-old talent with Paris 2024 in her sights. So, Emma and Emma, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on. Well, first up, Emma Hogan, just want to clear up, is there any truth to the rumour that your coach made you change your name to Emma to be part of the great sort of history of Australian triathlon Emmas?
Definitely not. I have always been an Emma.
That is how you appear on your birth certificate, is it?
That is 100% how I am on my birth certificate.
All right, good. Well, you know, it would be good to dial back a few years at the start here to kind of set the scene for, you know, for your coach, and because obviously, you know, we want to discover what it is she sees in you that has made her want to work with you. And obviously, Emma, given your...
I think it's more the other way.
Yeah, I think you should be asking Emma that.
No, she wants to work with me because I'm seen as the nutter.
But at the same time, there must be something that you see in younger Emma that presumably you wouldn't work with someone that you didn't see that same fire that you had in yourself.
Well, high performance wise, I think it's really important that you have someone. So a lot of people are like, oh, Emma, as in Emma Hogan, you're so lucky to work with Emma because, you know, she can motivate you. And like, I don't do any motivation for Emma. Emma's very self-motivated, very self-sufficient, very driven. And hopefully I'm just giving her a structure and an understanding of what's required. Because triathlon is a pretty ruthless sport and endurance sport as well. And especially, well, how old were you when I first met you? Like 18?
Yeah, 17 or 18.
Like Emma, so Emma's from far north Queensland. So basically everything in the water will sting you and paralyse you. And if you get out of the water alive, crocodiles will kill you. There's like little fishies that you tread on. And
so you've
like,
got to be fast, basically.
You've got to be quick.
Yeah, so, and just... yeah, to survive is a tough thing. So Emma's from far north Queensland. And I thought, really good test. I'll see if she's really committed to the sport. So I invited her down to Melbourne in the middle of winter. And out of it, Melbourne's down south. Everyone that's, you know, weather's quite ordinary in Melbourne in winter. And to top it all off, my heating broke. So Emma came down for a week and trained. Didn't complain once, but she was wearing her ski jacket on my couch. So it showed that she was tough.
Yeah, well, that sounds like quite a good, like, old school approach. I don't think the heating probably broke at all. I think this was actually like part of the test. Do you?
No, and she came back. So, you know, that was it. Locked in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So that was 3 years ago. By which point you had already how much time in triathlon?
I was always a very active kid, but I never really thought about triathlon seriously until I was about 16 or 17.
Well, what about the first time I went to a race, for example? I said to Emma, okay, you know, race is 30 minutes. I thought, God, she's wasting a lot of time before the race. A bit unprofessional. So I said, hey, Emma, you better go and warm up. And Emma looked at me and she goes, I've never warmed up.
I knew you had to do a swim warm-up.
I thought she was having a go. So I just went, oh, yeah, don't be silly. And she's just standing there looking at me. I said, oh, okay. So we're starting from a clear slate. So Emma's got a racing age in triathlon of 3.5.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, the fact that she's achieved so much in such a short period of time is really,
right.
really a good indication of, you know, how good she's going to be.
Okay. And so what was it that was the initial coming together that brought you together? Like, you know, your first impressions of your coach, and where was it that you first met?
Where I live, there's a race on Hamilton Island, and the guy who organises it, Steve Jackson, he put us together. I'm pretty sure he contacted Emma, and I was given sort of like a prize, I guess.
Oh, that's right, to coach.
Yeah, and Emma coached me for like 6 months or something. So that was how it got put together. And then Emma came up one day and I was absolutely terrified. I had done all this research. I had Googled, I had watched YouTube videos, I'd watched races, and I was absolutely scared out of my wits to meet Emma. I'd put all this together and gone, oh, she's such a scary person.
Fierce.
Very fierce, very straight talker, really to the point. And I was like, I'll have to make a good impression here. So yeah, but it's not that bad. It definitely wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
But are any of those traits ones that you kind of see in yourself already, or actually quite the opposite? And are they things that, not like explicitly, I'm sure she's never gone like, you gotta toughen up, you gotta change your attitude, but that could subtly, are they things that you would want to bring in, or are they things that you already have, or actually do you have a completely different approach to your racing? And
I think I'm quite like Emma, like in terms of my personality. The longer I've known Emma, the more I've come to realize that I think we're quite similar with our personalities, which
I think Emma drives a little more dangerously than I do.
Literally.
Don't get in the car with Emma.
That's not okay. Again, driving fast away from deadly things.
But I mean, I'm getting old and everything's a rush. And my mum used to say to me, why is everything a rush? Why can't we just drive somewhere nice and slowly and just get there? And I get in Emma's car and I feel like I'm my mum, just going, do we have to be in such a rush? So yeah, very, very similar. And Emma's got the added benefit and the added skill of being a really, really good swimmer. So it's going to become the full package. There's not going to be a weakness, and it's getting to the stage where athletes are having to, they're going to have to really, really outwit Emma through experience and age and strength, because she's still only 20, to beat her. And then once that comes together, as she moves, from under 23 into senior ranks, she's going to be a real force, which is fantastic.
And also the opposite of when you were starting out, right? The swim was always the thing that you've had to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you deal with what you've got, and you strengthen your strengths and you strengthen your weaknesses, or you minimize the damage on your weaknesses. And so with Emma, she's come from a swimming background, and I expected her to be a lot bigger because, swimming background is normally a larger type of athlete. And, Emma swims up and down the pool and she's really slight. It's like ding, 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 ding. It's none of this big. She's not a big person. She's actually, you're smaller than me, much smaller.
Yeah.
And so she's got that physique that's going to adapt really well to running, which it has. So she's already running A grades in the competition down here on the track. And if you follow me in World Triathlon coaching, I'm very much an advocate for middle distance run coaching. Is really good for triathlon because we do all the extra Ks in the other disciplines. And the bike riding is about fitness. And, a lot of the stuff that we do on the bike is the stuff that I did. And you can say, oh, well, back in my day, it started off as a 40K time trial and then it moved to drafting. But in drafting, you still have to have that fitness on the bike and that ability to jump packs and, work through hills. And so, yeah, I think you deal with what you're given in triathlon, and then you just try and make yourself unbeatable as much as you can in every scenario. In my era, there's a lot of run strong athletes. So a lot of the runs were very, very fast. But I mean, I hate comparing eras because then you can say, well, what about this? What about that? And no one can race the same thing. So it is absolutely about minimizing the damage on the weakness. And I think by the time Emma gets, to being a senior athlete, you'll be very hard stretched to find a weakness, the way things are progressing.
Right. So and how long have you been working together, kind of full time?
3 years, just on 3 years.
Okay. So that
years of fun and enjoyment.
And what have been your kind of standout moments in that 3 years then? Whereabouts are you in terms of, the competitions you've done and so on, and the sort of performances you've been putting in?
I haven't really had that many opportunities to race, like, I guess, big races. I mean,
Yeah.
Last year.
So Emma's really useless at talking herself about herself.
Last year was probably my first proper year of actual racing.
So well, we were like down.
2019.
Okay.
Sorry, and then COVID ruined last year for racing. So I think I don't know. I'm not glad talking about myself.
Can I answer it? But I don't want to be like the dominant Emma. Can I? So, for example, at the age of under 23, and as you enter under 23, you're always going to be like on the back foot because you're not as experienced and you're younger and all that sort of stuff. So I think you have to look at your performances over time. So I've known Emma for 2.5, 3 years. And the first race she did, for example, if you look at a race in the Oceania Champs down in Devonport, first race she did, I can't remember the finishing time, but I do know she lost about 2.5 minutes to the junior winner. Okay. Then last year she had another go and she was in the under 23 for the first time. So she was the youngest under 23 across the line, and she lost just under 1.5 minutes in the run. And now she's racing the elite girls in Melbourne here, the elite Triathlon Australia girls. And she's, one race she lost 10 seconds, another race she lost 1 minute in the run. No, just under.
Yeah, just
so
under.
It just shows that progression of improvement. And so there's no major wins, and you don't sort of expect that at this time of your career. And, even the under 23 World Championships will be very difficult for an Australian to get to this year because our government has just locked us down and got borders going all over the place. Like we can't even go into state hardly. So it'll probably be another 12 months before you even have another result, really.
Yeah, it won't be much.
Yeah. And you had a pretty unconventional start to your ITU then career, right? So, there's ways of proving that kind of thing works, and being able to crack on and focus on yourself and then make your impact.
But I also think that I'm with coaching Emma, although her parents must have named her after me, I'm not trying to create another Emma Carney. It's about Emma's career, and I hope it's going to be better than mine. Let's put it that way. And I hope that the mistakes, more than anything, will that I made will not happen in her career. I don't want to see those mistakes. And so I think that's really important in coaching. You don't do it. I don't coach so that I can go, woohoo, look what I've done. I'm like, wee, that's awesome.
And for those listening who have perhaps been under a rock for the last, maybe not been, no, that's a bit rude, not quite as attuned into the rich history of World Triathlon. So your first ITU, as it was then, race, as I have to say, was the 94 World Championships. You won by a record margin, right?
Yeah. So my debut international race was the World Championships in Wellington, and I was convinced I was going to win, and I was actually annoyed that I wasn't invited to the press conference. And my dad said, "Well, you've never raced, so what do you expect?" So that really fired me up. And my little sister Claire won the juniors in the morning, and if I didn't win the seniors, I'd go home as the family loser. So I had no choice.
So it was actually sibling rivalry as much as anything.
Oh yeah, especially your little sister.
Yeah.
I would never have lived that down.
And for that period, there must have been like an extra thrill coming into that race as well as the unknown. Did that also help kind of fire you up as this sort of outsider figure? Or
it was odd. It was my camp, my parents, me, my coaches, we all believed that I was going to win. But it was just really, really odd, having zero experience. And, even the commentators were like, oh, who's this? I wonder how long this is going to last. And then, after about I don't know, an hour of it, they're like, oh, okay, we think she might win. But yeah, it was really odd, and I don't know if it's the best way to start a career either, because you start to make mistakes in front of people as well, and you make mistakes that you didn't expect, because if you go and win the first time, you sort of expect to win every race, and I expected to win every race, which was a good and a bad thing, because when I did lose races, which is obviously going to happen, I didn't know how to handle it. I was sort of publicly, obviously annoyed.
A hothead, could you say? Or
a little bit. So yeah, that sort of stuff. So Emma's doing a progression through, and so by the time she gets there, she's ready in every way, and I just think that's a much nicer way to do it.
At the same time, they're the athletes in any sport that live longest in the memory are the characters, and for good and bad, right? That sport needs those sort of personalities.
Yeah.
And do you think that having those rivalries, from day one of your Konas and your ITU World Championships, there were those rivalries, and they were part of the blowing up of the sport at the time, right? I mean, it was incredible. Like through the 90s, the TV coverage and the sponsorship and the personalities was amazing. So you must appreciate as well that those rivalries and that single-mindedness and determination that sort of also caused that reaction when you didn't win was part of the magic, really.
Yeah, Les used to yell at me a lot. Les McDonald, he told me off a lot of the time. I think you do have to have characters in sport, and I do think that like the fact that I'm coaching in Emma, if you look at the history of Australia, and everyone loves their data right now, so here's one for the data people. So if you look at the history of triathlon and you look at the name Emma, the success rate is something like 80%. So if you just purely pick an Emma in Australia, which is what I've done, and if Emma gets to the top, that percentage is going to go even higher. So then the data can go back and go, okay, let's go and get another Emma. So it could go forever. So I'll never actually die in triathlon, because I've actually been stopped in the street when Emma Snowsill won the Olympic gold. And this was the next day. So she's still in Beijing, dusting off the gold medal. I'm stopped in a street down in Melbourne, and they said, oh, congratulations, Emma. And I was going to correct them, and I went, yeah, thanks. So the Emma.
Just a little high five and
yeah. So yeah, I think that's going to be interesting, and it's nice to be, it's nice to be involved in the sport. I'll forever be involved in triathlon, and it's nice to be involved in the racing side. Even once you've retired, I can. There's something about racing triathlon, and still get amongst it, because Emma's getting amongst it.
Would you rather she kind of kept herself to herself in terms of when it comes to those international elite races, or would you kind of encourage her to be like, right, that you're going to beat her, that is your yardstick, go out there and do whatever it takes? And
I don't think you do. I don't think you can do that. Like, I don't think once you start worrying about other people, I think you're all over the place. So don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think you lose track of what you're doing, lose focus.
So you have to race aggressively. You can't race reactively, because you're all over the shop, because people are doing all sorts of stuff in triathlon, and But I think the world's changed. I did a world championship and my chain slipped. No, my cable slipped. And I frisbeed my bike across the course, threw my helmet across the course, threw my shoes in a tree, and an official came over and said, "Oh, excuse me, Emma, do you think you could stop? Because we've got the head of the IOC watching." And like now, that would be an immediate DQ. So I wouldn't encourage that kind of behaviour. No, it doesn't achieve anything, and it's pretty poor.
But I mean, was reading Emma's book Emma Hogan was reading Emma Carney's book, part of the initiation into joining the team. When the title is life, death, and triathlon, that's a fairly punchy. You know what you're getting yourself in for there, right?
Yeah, definitely. She's actually
I make her read it every night.
I've read it twice now, and she said that I should prepare myself for quizzes on what was in the book. So I'm trying to soak up as much knowledge as I can.
You have to. Every training session is begun with like a having to write a review for Amazon.
Yeah,
right?
it's like rapid fire.
It's you. It's a good idea.
But actually, when did you? How was the process of writing that book? Sorry, this is going to be less interesting for you, Emma Hogan, except for your career pathway might be this might be fitting in quite nicely. But was it over a long period of time? Or how was the as someone who aspires to write a book myself, I'm interested to know how that.
It took a very long time. So I kept diaries when I was racing, and you got a training diary, and I had a diary, everything that happened diary.
Okay.
And so I was always going
to that you just kept up. That was just part of your
I was always
routine life. Yeah.
It was
Okay.
a different ending, I was going to be like, "Whoa, go Emma," but it was more like cardiac arrest, Emma. So that's where the life and death bit comes in.
Yeah.
It's
good you can laugh about that now.
But there were sections that are quite touchy subjects, like Olympic appeal and things like that. So I had a historian put that together, and I've written it so the reader can draw their own conclusions, and this is what happened. So I'm not saying this person did this. This is what happened. This is how I trained. This is how I grew up. Bit of a crazy growing up. But yeah, it was a long process. Probably took about 5 years from getting everything together. And I didn't write it from the start to the finish. I wrote it in sections, and it was actually twice as big. So I really wrote everything down, and then got some things out of it and narrowed it right down. There must have been edit after edit, and I've probably driven Emma nuts talking about it. And
she took a lap.
Oh, because it came out while you were already working together, did it? When did it came out last?
Came out in December.
It's that recent, right? Yeah.
So yeah, came out in December, and sort of it's been selling well. It's going to start the reviews are going to start happening in the podcasts, and the book launch. I still haven't really done that. So yeah.
You're starting a podcast as well. You're doing
No, I'm not doing. I'm going on a lot of podcasts, but I thought I could do a podcast.
Far out.
Fit something else in.
And are you keeping a little diary on the side now as well, then, Emma? Is that something that is
me? Yeah, I've got training diaries. I don't know whether it's old school, but I handwrite them all. I go out at the start of every year and
buy. It should be, right?
Yeah, buy myself a diary and write down all my training. I haven't quite hit the Dear Diary stage yet. I still just have a training diary and just write down stuff in there. But yeah, I keep diaries. They're all handwritten.
Yeah, I've actually started writing the second book, which is on coaching.
Right.
So I've got Emma's notes going.
Amazing. Well, obviously you're fundamental part of the World Triathlon development team as well. How is that in terms of you're dealing with breakthrough coming through coaches in all corners of the world, right? How is the landscape out there and the sort of appetite? And
I think I'm a very, very small cog in the wheel of triathlon development. There's a lot of coaches like Vincent and Francesco and Rolf, and some very, very experienced coaches. And then you've got people that are writing the documentation and the educational work. So like James Jolly, and I've got Dave the computer IT nerd. But it's all really interesting because we all come from different backgrounds. And so I think I drive a lot of them crazy because mine's very practical approach. Because I'm like, oh, this is like, this works. And they're like, okay, well, where's the research? And I go, oh yeah, I've tried it. This works. And so a lot of that stuff. So I have a balance of the science and the this work stuff. So it's interesting. And then I'm trying to get some development countries to understand the idea that if you are 40 seconds down out of the swim, it's not the end of the day because you can get a pack going, but you've got to have the right mindset. You can. So that sort of approach as well, and providing alternatives out there. There's not just one way to win a triathlon. So it's very interesting. Like I really, really enjoy the sport. When I retired in a very, very ordinary way in cardiac arrest, and I thought I'd ruined my life and I was going to die next week. So I tried to walk away from the sport, and it's a sport that I think if you really, really love it, you're in it for life. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and you've done more than a lot in terms of the different elements to that post-athlete career. The writing, the coaching, the commentating. Commentary must have been fun, was it?
Yeah, the commentary was fun. That's going to go more into a sustainable model. So they're going to do it out of a centralised location because, having an Aussie fly around the world is not really a sustainable way of running it. So it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting to see each race and comment on each race and be able to see how the races were panning out.
Quite hectic as well, like a lot to keep your eye on. And
yeah, there is. There's a feed going through of times and names and everything popping up. And they said, can you refer to that? And I'm like, no, because I'm over here talking to you, so I'm not going to look over there. And it's been like, God, because I've only got that athlete focus.
Yeah, so that was commentating for the World Triathlon Series level.
Yeah.
And presumably you kept up to speed and watched a lot of races anyway, but to watch races through with that kind of obviously like analytical eye and full focus must have been pretty fascinating, or just make you want to be back out there.
And you can quite easily really, really publicly screw up as well, because you can go, oh, that won't happen, and then 2 minutes later they've pulled it off, and you're like, hope they didn't remember.
Steep learning curve from the first couple of races.
I hope they didn't remember that, and they always do. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun being on the circuit. So I'm looking forward to that with Emma as well. So it'll be interesting being a coach because you've got the high pressure there, but then once the gun goes, your athletes go for it. You've fully educated and trained, and they have the skills and all the requirements to get through a triathlon in one piece and hopefully up the pointy end. Hope so. Yeah. Otherwise, it wasn't my fault.
A lot of pressure on your shoulders now, Emma. If there's going to be, if she's writing a coaching book as well while coaching you, then you're like the proof.
I am. I have to pull it off now.
But will it be, a fairly sort of A to Z coaching manual, or will it be interspersed with like stories? It'll be part of a story.
I think, some people have said to me that they would have liked to have read more about my training theories, maybe a little bit more of that, but it'll be different because no athlete's the same. So I'm not just saying to Emma, hey, on the 11th of February in 1926 I did this session, so you're going to do it. And so it's not about that anyway. It's about what happens. Because when I was Emma's age, I had a race age on the track of what?
Like 6 years now, like
6 or 7 years just of track racing. So that the skill of racing can be transferred across to triathlon. It's just a different discipline. So I don't really know if I believe wholeheartedly in training Bibles that just go bang, 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 because you've got to go, oh, but hang on, that over there. And so, yeah.
Equally, how different are different coaches' philosophies and approaches from what you know of other top coaches, from Joel or Ian and Brian or whatever, in terms of how much difference do you see in coaching methods and techniques? Is it really quite varied?
I think it is varied, and I think it also sometimes it's not so much the coaching, it's the environment as well. So it's, if athletes are able to train and are confident in that environment, they'll do well. And there isn't really too much difference in the actual coaching. But I mean, having said that, I haven't been to specific, coaching sessions. But yeah, I have some fairly strong views on how running should be done, because I feel very confident in the running section and the bike. And I don't buy into a lot of common theories, like we don't really run off the bike. I don't really endorse that.
No, I've never done a run off the bike.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of not practicing running well, especially when you've got such a limited time or limited energy source in your body. Let's do it all well. That doesn't necessarily mean run hard and flat out and break yourself. It just means doing it well. Even the jog is good form, good technique, good skills. Mm-hmm. So that sort of stuff's different. We don't muck around doing bikes in car parks.
No.
A lot of that stuff goes on down here. We don't stick cones in car parks and roll around car parks. It's a ride out, in the hills. And
I suppose it's all about backing up what you're doing with a reason for doing it, right? So, if an athlete can't see why they're doing something, then that's got to be the worst feeling in the world, presumably.
Well, hopefully you understand why.
No, yeah, definitely. I understand most of the things. Well, I understand it all, but I will ask. I will ask not to contradict what Emma's doing, just so I have an understanding of why I'm doing it. And like every time I've asked, it's always like it always calms me down. I go, yeah, okay, I can understand that now. So,
but Emma does also make it very, very clear the stuff that she hates doing. So I do try and keep that out of the program, because it's you're not trying to get your athlete to hate you. I'm not here to make Emma tough, because Emma's tough. I'm not here to make Emma's life a misery. I'm here to try and get Emma ready to be the best triathlete in the world. And let's try and avoid the stuff that she doesn't like. So we'll do we can modify sessions. You don't have to go and do that. So, yeah.
Obviously, race goals is one thing, but training goals is a whole nother. So you would be like, right, at the end of 2022, I want you to be at this level with these kind of boxes ticked, and then that'll mean at 2023 we can.
It sort of times around things. Like I mean, I believe the swim's already there. It's already sort of front pack material. Okay. It's just a question of the age and the consistency in racing. The running, I'd like to get some times down, and there's target times each year. And the racing will have to be, when there's a full calendar, will have to be carefully chosen, because initially you don't want to do too much travel, and that's one of the big problems with being an Australian athlete, is that travel to European races, and whether you go over, do a couple of races and come back. I always preferred that method than staying over there, because I like my training base, but then that does mean a lot of travel. But if you select races, do well at them, and then come home, well, you don't have to do quite as many races because you've done well. So it's a question of how we can have that support around that. But having done it myself, the connections overseas are really good too. So I didn't have that either. So I didn't, I went overseas and sort of rattled around on my own. Yeah.
But there must be days, days when training is, great, and days when you're just like, this is just not happening. And obviously it's great. You need to, that fine line between getting on with your coach and being able to have, enjoy what you're doing, but then also have someone just barking at you to make you do the things that you really don't want to be doing, right?
Oh, no, I didn't do that.
No, Emma
No?
never hasn't barked at me ever. She never yelled at me. I
I've-
think I'm quite self-motivated.
Yeah, I've never, like, I was yelled at by coaches, and like when I see people yell at young kids and athletes, I just think, you got a communication problem.
Yeah, I've had swimming coaches like that with me, and I don't think it's constructive at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite self-motivated, so I guess I drag myself out there to do it anyway. Having someone like Emma there, just it sort of makes it easier because you've got someone there, you know, telling you times you need to run, timing it, being there at the end and the start of every rep. So it's not as
not during, because I'm a bit slow.
it's not as draining mentally, I think, to have someone there with you. But she's never yelled at me, and I would drag myself out and train anyway, whether I felt amazing or whether I felt absolutely awful.
I mean, Emma's, 3,000 K away from home. She finished year 12, final year of school, got into a university in Melbourne, like a bloody biomed. So, like, she didn't just flop in, she went in guns blazing. She's lived down here. She's had to live with me, my son, 10-year-old Jack. And, like, that's really hard to leave home and then say, yeah, I want to be a triathlete. And then she's had to do all this work and all this training and get to uni and freeze through winter. So it's not an easy thing, and Emma hasn't taken an easy option in any way. And while I think I provide and hopefully provide a really, really productive, training program, I think it's really, really important to also recognise how much Emma has done herself, because that's what's going to get her there. Not, I can sit there and go, well, this is what's going to happen. You're going to do this, this and this, and just do this training. But she's still got to line up at the races and get everything together and perform. So that's, every athlete has to do that. And I think what Emma's done, she's gone against the grain. She's gone out on a limb, and she's working with someone who frightened her. No other athletes who says, hey, can I come and train with you? In that scenario of finishing school and moving 3,000 K away from home and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I think that's something that Emma should be really proud of, because that's a really, really big step to doing something that she wants to do.
All right. So without looking to your left, Emma Junior, how do you see the next 2-3 years shaping up? And would Paris, would you consider that like too much too early? Is the goal really LA? Or is that even too soon to think about those kind of goals?
I'd like both Olympics, Paris and LA. I don't think Paris is a stretch. I think Birmingham, 2022 is possibly like a shorter term goal, I guess. But definitely Paris and then LA and then 2032, whatever after that is. Definitely. I would like 3 Olympics.
Is that something that is always in the back of your mind, like world champion, Olympic champion? Is that like literally the burn inside you? That is what's fueling you, keeping you going?
I mean, yeah, I love the sport, but definitely every day, that's it. Like, that's the pinnacle of our sport. So yeah, definitely there's not much else I really want in life. I can't see myself sitting doing a desk job. I never have. I've always loved sport. Even as a young kid, I'd wake up early in the morning and watch the swimming at the Olympics, and that's all I ever wanted to do. So it's like, yeah, every day.
And so from your side, Emma, in terms of, would you agree with that? I mean, presumably you're reading from the same hymn sheet here in terms of what you've got sketched out for the coming years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the relay is a really good opportunity for athletes like Emma as well. And I think national federations should look at the younger generation, because they can have them in a relay and they're going to have the speed, and they're going to have the ability to go fast, and it's a really good opportunity to also expose them to the environment of a major games. So relays, I think, are a very good tool. Australia's got a big relay program.
Yeah, definitely. It's very strong.
Very, very focused on the relays. And I'm not completely convinced that you can do well in the relays without having strong individual performances, though, in triathlon. So I believe you need to also focus on the individual program. So without the individual performances, I think it's very difficult to have a relay do well. Because you've got to have that depth. And you're going to have that depth against against countries that have got that depth. So it's not just going to come together because it's shorter. So I think the relay program is very, very important, but it needs to also stand alongside a very, very strong individual program, which is hopefully what Emma's also getting.
Yes.
Through my coaching.
Great. And well, you'll become part of the next book then, hopefully, Emma, as well. That's
well, I think I'm the...
Why don't you write her out of it? She leaves.
Could really bugger it up, and there is no second book.
Just torture. Torture program.
That would not be good.
No, it's not about that. I like writing, and I think even in sport, everyone loves a story. Everyone loves a story in life. And the stories behind sport are often unseen and untold. And I think it's really interesting. I've written a book, and most people have said to me, what I really, really enjoyed reading was about what you really were like, what Emma Carney's really like. So it would be actually nice, because they don't know what goes on in the background. And there's a hell of a lot of laughing going on in the background as well. So yeah, it's not all hard work. So
tough for you, and not seeing your parents, and for them, have they been on the phone quite a lot, sort of checking in on you? And
yeah, I call my mum and my dad every day.
Says, get me out of here.
No, I've never said that.
I hate this. I hate my life.
They'll pick up on the coded messages soon enough, hopefully.
SOS.
No, it's never like that. It was hard not seeing them. I think it was harder on mum and dad than it was on me. Mum and dad own a business. They own a bakery in Proserpine. So they were actually surprisingly, and was very lucky, is they were very busy. They've been quite busy the whole time. But I think it was harder on them than it was on me. But I call them every day. I still do. And I was there not even a month ago.
So when Emma went home at Christmas time, she sends me a photo. She's in a 50-metre pool. She goes, I had to get out of the pool. There's a snake in lane 2.
There was a brown snake in the pool, and they got us all out so they could get the snake out of the pool.
That's the
brown snakes are bad, aren't they?
They will kill you.
Oh, yeah. Anything up there kills you. You just a little butterfly goes past, it'll kill you.
We couldn't, it's ironic, quite ironic, because it's hot and humid and awful up there, and you can't go in the ocean or the rivers, because the ocean has jellyfish that will kill you, and the rivers have crocodiles, so
will eat you.
You get in the pool or you just sweat. It started flooding in the end. We had about 400 mil of rain in just under 6 hours the night after I left. So I was lucky I left when I did, because I would have got flooded in.
And then the crocs are just prowling the streets, presumably.
Main street. No, it's not that bad, but it is. There's a lot of things that I guess it makes training harder at home, because there's a lot of things you have to be careful of, and you can't go in there, and don't go running in the bush. But I don't know. It's a country town as well, so I'm running, I did my run sessions out the back of cane paddocks on dirt roads. I nearly trod on a snake, rode over a snake. The stuff, it was just all going on.
Anyway, right, I've got to get Jack to bed.
All right.
What is it, 10 o'clock?
10.
Yeah.
But thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been good.
I think we've gone way over time. They're going to kill you.
But it was brilliant. Lovely to speak to you both.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
thanks.
The rest of the year, and hopefully catch up with you soon somewhere in person.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.